So at the start of this video, I want to wish everyone happy holidays. I do have a very special video that's going to be released on Christmas. I will release that video at noon at Eastern Standard Time. In the recent videos, ever since I arrived in China, a lot of people are accusing me. They're saying that, oh, I'm a spy for the Chinese Communist Party. I'm posting pro-Chinese propaganda. I'm being an anti-Western. I don't know what kind of contents you guys have been consuming online. I can tell you this, I would say probably 80 to 90% of it is either complete garbage or is completely 100% biased propaganda from the West. And I want to be 100% open and honest with you guys. So I'll give you guys an example if you guys are wondering, how I'm accessing YouTube, how I'm accessing these Western social media websites. Before I left for China, so I got a new phone plan. So this phone plan allows me to roam freely while in China. By the way, I still have a Canadian number. It works 100% fine. I can make any call I want. I can, send out any text messages to any of my contacts in Canada. I can do my online banking. I have no problem accessing the Chinese app. That is a WeChat. I can use my Garmin just fine. This is for running. And there's my Garmin Connect. This is my Strava. I keep my Strava activities. And as you guys can see, so the only app on here that does not work, with my China roaming plan, I got this plan while in Canada, is TikTok. I realized that there's pretty much almost impossible for me to access it. And 99% of the time, there's nothing. So I just deleted it. I think it's possibly for the better. I think, for the next generation, TikTok has completely destroyed their attention span and their mind. It's been completely poisoned. But, on my phone, there's the YouTube app, there's the X, Facebook, there's Instagram, Zoom meeting. I have my Gmail, and I even got my Duolingo on here. I got some few games on there, booking. Everything works fine. I can open up any of these icons. I even have a signal. Right now it says LTE. Sometimes it'll say 5G. It's got 4 bars right now. It works 100% fine. Once again, this is with a Canadian phone. So whatever is it that you guys have been watching from the West, yes, China does have a great firewall. But obviously, there are exceptions, right? There are foreigners who live and work in China. There are international students who come to study here, right? China has a regular streams of international tourists. So there are exceptions to the rule. And having a phone from Canada with a Chinese roaming plan is 100% legal. So I just want to make something clear, right? Because in the previous videos, you guys say I've been lying about this and lying about that. And there's something that's very, very important, right? A lot of people want me to cover the topic of, leftover women. Yes, China has many leftover women. This is 100% true, and China does recognize this. So once again, I want to emphasize on this. So right now, the current standard as we're heading to 2025. So if a woman, she's turning 30 in China and she's still not married, she's considered to be a 剩女, that is a leftover woman. So this term first rose probably, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago. At the time, it used to be 27. They got pushed back, I think possibly 28. Now it is 30, and they might push it back even further. A lot of women are freaking out. So there are a lot of reasons for this, a lot of reasons to be considered. I will cover a lot more on the topic of a leftover woman in the coming months. And of course, I have a lot of travel vlogs I want to share with you guys. So as I'm recording this video, I've already finished my degree. I've gotten my undergraduate degree, my degree from Canada. So now I have more time, and I have already traveled to a bunch of different places. I will share some of the travel vlogs with you guys. So the next video released on Christmas, there will be a travel vlog. It will be a very special one. So yeah, there are a lot of things to consider. If you're wondering, so what are these leftover women doing, right? Many of these women are still quite attractive. They're very, very successful. They're making a lot of money, but they have no chance of finding a partner. So what do? One thing I've noticed since I've returned to China, it's been 8 years, right? So my last return was in the fall of 2016. And I've noticed this time, so anytime I go out to a restaurant, I noticed that the waiters, they're really, really old. Like, I was shocked. The last time I went back, it was definitely not like this. It wouldn't be a major surprise to me, right? Because obviously China had the one-child policy for a very long time. And also China's birth rate. The birth rate is collapsing. So right now, China's fertility rate is roughly 1 children per woman. Obviously, the replacement rate is 2.1 per woman. So you have a situation, people call in China, and the government does recognize this. You have the 4 2-and-1 situation where you have 4 grandparents, you have 2 parents and 1 children. So obviously there are a lot of older people in China. So where you're looking for people to hire, the majority of the applicants are going to be from the older generation, one of the contributing factors. But one thing I've also noticed is that, when I look at these waiters, right, sometimes they're either, 60 or 65. Even a 40-year-old is considered to be young to be a waiter in China. The really, really young people, right, the 20, 23, 25-year-olds, right, it's extremely rare to see them. And when you do see one, most of them are really, really ugly. I'm sorry to say, I'm talking about, Hillary Clinton, I'm talking about Nancy Pelosi, I'm talking about Rosie O'Donnell. Like, they are mad, mad ugly. So what happened to the decent looking and the attractive, the next generation of Chinese people, the millennials and Gen Z? Where are they heading off to? I'll give you guys a few examples. Let's make this connection with the leftover Chinese woman. So this is not really a Western thing, but Asian people in general, probably Chinese, I would say Japanese, Filipinos for sure, Koreans probably, they love to go to these karaoke bars. It's very normal. Some of these karaoke bars, they will open, I would say, all night long. It's very normal for someone to go there on a weekend. Let's say after they had dinner, they will go on there at 8 p.m. on afternoon, and they will sing all night, certainly until at least 2 or 3 a.m. So many of the younger and more attractive people, they've gone to work at these KTVs. Because I did mention in my video about grocery shopping, right? So by the way, my hometown Jilin City nowadays is a tier 3 city. So China is a tier cities that are being regularly updated. It doesn't always stay at a certain tier. So tier 3 out of 5 tiers. So this is a average medium city. You would say a medium-sized city. So if you're wondering what is the average median wage rate, know the exact number. I would say it's probably close to 6,000 yuan per month. So in China, they don't usually pay you by the hour. Usually you get a monthly salary, 6,000 yuan. That's about $830 US. Doesn't sound like very much. But, things relatively speaking, things are just so much cheaper. So I would say, $830 a month in a tier 3 city in China is probably the equivalent of someone, let's say in New York City today, making, I would say, $45,000 to $50,000 a year. That's my most honest opinion. So it's not bad. Like, you're not going to live a luxurious life, but you can get by no problem at all. Like right now, you can go around Jilin City, you can get a cheap bachelor's apartment, I would say for anywhere between 800 to 1,200 yuan. So that is 1,200, that'll be a luxury. That's, you're talking about a spacious bachelor's apartment. And you can get a very, very decent upscale 1-bedroom for 1,800 yuan. So that's not bad, because when the average wage is roughly 6,000, a third of your income can give yourself a decent upscale 1-bedroom apartment. So yeah, let's talk about it. Obviously, I said the average wage is around 6,000, right? If you work as a waiter at a restaurant, I would say the starting wage is maybe possibly 4,000 yuan a month. It's far below the average. It's not bad, but it's extremely, extremely difficult work. Typically 70 to 80 hours a week, because this is considered to be bottom of the barrel job. So yeah, obviously a lot of people, it's not ideal, right? It's not something you want to go into. So that's why a lot of the younger people, they would rather go to these karaoke bars. By the way, if you're wondering how much a waiter can make at these karaoke bars, well, it depends, right? So in China, there are a lot of leftover men and also a lot of leftover women. So what a lot of these leftover women, they like is that they have a term, it's called 小鲜肉, 小鲜肉, a small fresh meat. And there's also another term, it's called 鸭子. What is 鸭子? It's a duck. So what is a duck? So duck, it's like, these Chinese cougars, they like these are really, really young. We're talking 18, 20, 22-year-old Chinese men. These usually tall, skinny ones. They like them with these really, really soft, really, really light-skinned. They like to play around with these young boys. Sometimes they call them yas, these ducks. So a lot of these young guys who are, maybe possibly a little bit muscular, possibly tall, possibly good looking, they have certain jawlines that's considered to be attractive by Asian standards. So they can easily get a job at these karaoke bars that will pay them, let's say, 10,000 yuan a month, possibly 12,000, possibly 15,000. Yes, so these young men, all they have to do is that they will go to these karaoke bars, and many of these leftover women, they will come regularly, usually mostly on weekends, and they will want these young, small, fresh meat, these yas, these ducks. They will just go into the KTV bars and just have a few drinks with them. Sometimes if they get a little bit drunk, they might want to, just slap them a little bit and pinch them on the cheek. Sometimes they get a little bit of tip. So that's all they have to do, and they can make as much as 15,000 yuan a month 3 times or even 4 times versus they will make as a normal waiter at a restaurant. That's why, if you don't believe me, right, just, when you visit China, if you go to a really, really solid, 5-star restaurant, obviously there'll be very, very young, very, very attractive waiters and waitresses. But if you go to any just regular restaurant in China, you will notice that the average age of the waiter is probably 55 or 60 years old. It's going to be a massive crisis because these people eventually they will have to retire, and there's not going to be another generation to replace them because the wages they paid, none of the young people would go there because all the decent, attractive ones, they would just go to a karaoke bar where they can make so much more money. The young, attractive ones, they can pair up with a older, leftover woman, and they would just sit there and drink with them. They don't have to do much, and they can make 3 or 4 times as much. And what about the women? It's pretty much the same thing, right? Life is not fair. In China, you don't even have to be attractive. All you have to be is mid. You can find a high value man. Or in some cases, some women, they have zero shame. I mentioned this term before. It's called a 小三, little 3. So yeah, I've noticed this trend, right? Many young Chinese women, they just have no shame anymore. Many 18, 20, 22-year-olds, they would rather be someone's a 小三. They would rather be, let's say, some rich Chinese businessman, someone that's already 40, 50, 60, that's already married with children, and they have no problem being their mistress as long as the guy's making enough money, as long as the guy's giving them the lifestyle they wanted. See, you have basically throughout history, right? You have basically what's called this. I don't know what you call this. You have a shifting of patterns. Things go up, then they go down. They go up, and they go down. Things disappear, and they come back. They disappear, and then they come back. For example, like a couple hundred years ago, right, during China's century of humiliation during the Opium Wars, when China was flooded with opium by the British, almost every single Chinese person was a drug addict. Even my grandmother, this is a legacy of China's century of humiliation. She used to smoke tobacco all the time. Before they had cigarette packages, I'm talking about those really, really long pipe tobaccos. So all the Chinese women used to smoke. But, as China grew, as China's economy grew, as China escaped the extreme poverty, that aspect sort of disappeared. Yes, Chinese men, they smoke their brains out. I will cover all of that topic in upcoming videos. I'm going to talk about, how much revenue China makes from their, tobacco, how much taxes they collect. I'm going to talk about comrade culture and how basically all the Chinese men, they just smoke their brains out. But for the longest time, I would say up until the year of 2000, Chinese women smoking, that is, you will almost never ever see that anywhere. But that's making a comeback. I would say amongst the young Chinese women, at least 1 in 10 smokes, probably regularly. I would say a pack of cigarettes per day. And many of these young women, they prefer these really, really thin menthol cigarettes. It's weird. I don't know what's up with women and menthol cigarettes. In the north, where it's cold during the winter, they like to put on a little mink fur coat, and they like to smoke their really, really thin menthol cigarettes like this. So yeah, many of these young women, right, they have no problem finding a much, much older man and becoming their 小三. Or in some cases, the attractive ones, they would just become a waitress at a karaoke bar. And obviously, there will be rich and successful men that will come there. And they don't have to do anything weird, right? All they have to do is just, go into the KTV room, just sit on the sofa and have a few drinks with them. And they can make, 10,000 yuan, 15,000. And the young, attractive woman, they can, who knows, even make 20,000, 25,000, 30,000 yuan a month. Just being born with a pretty face. See, being born pretty, that is also a privilege, right? I do acknowledge, there are certain privileges in life, right? And yes, in China, in Asia, there is a certain aspect of a white privilege I've covered. And yes, it is 100% real. There is a pretty face privilege. If you're born ugly, you're born ugly. You have to accept it. I think, a lot of people are coming to the brutal realization, especially the young people. That's why so many young people in China, they're laying flat because there are jobs available. A lot of people are saying that, China's youth unemployment, right, is skyrocketing, all of that stuff. It's just a lot of people, they don't want to, apply to work as a waiter because you can make an honest living. You can make 4,000 or 5,000 yuan a month, which is more than enough to survive. You can't live a luxurious life. It's just that it's very difficult. You have to work, 996, 72 hours a week. It's extremely difficult work. It's been looked down on, and a lot of these people who often work at these places, they're not very attractive because the attractive ones, right, the attractive man, they can go become a rich leftover woman's duck. They can just sit there and have a few drinks with a rich leftover woman in China, and they can make 15,000 yuan a month. Versus if a guy is ugly, he has to work 72 hours a week at a restaurant and make 4,000 or 5,000 yuan a month. That's the brutal reality. Same with the woman, the really, really ugly Chinese woman, and sometimes they have no choice, and they will have to work same thing as a waiter, 72 hours a week, and they will only make 4,000 or 5,000 yuan a month. The the average, the mid, and also the attractive ones, they can all secure a very, very high value man at a very young age. And in the cases that if they don't want to marry, if they don't want to secure a high value man, they can go work at a karaoke bar, sit there, have a couple drinks with a couple of rich, successful men. They can make insane amount of money. One of the other options is that they will go do this online streaming thing. By the way, one of my cousins, I don't know if she's a millionaire. She's made a lot of money. I'm talking about a truckload of money. I will cover the topic of online streaming and people trying to become a TikTok famous in China. Well, yes, TikTok is banned in China. I did mention from my phone. There's no way for me to access TikTok for the next while. But I'm talking about the Chinese version of TikTok. I'm talking about Douyin. I'm going to make a connection to this with my next video, which is going to be a travel vlog. So yeah, that's basically the state of China. So as the series goes on, as my travel vlogs rolls out, because I've already traveled to a bunch of different cities, I will release these videos, and I will be talking to you guys. I will share everything I have known. You might not agree with things, right? You might not like the Chinese Communist Party. I understand, but I just want to be 100% open and honest, right? 80 to 90% of the stuff you've been seeing in the West, 100% propaganda, right? I'm telling you guys the 100% truth and what life is really, really like in China. But I think the most important takeaway from this video is that, life is not fair. And, if you're born ugly, especially in China in 2025, life is going to suck for you. And if you're born attractive, whether as a male or female, you live life on the easy mode. That's why I'll cover my cousin in a future video. And by the way, she moved to Canada. She found a millionaire boyfriend. So yeah, she's very successful herself, and she doesn't do very much because she was born with a pretty face. So she signed a contract with one of those streaming companies. So all she does is that she goes live for maybe a couple hours a day, and there's a bunch of guys that's donating money to her every single day. She's just sitting there and says, "Hi guys, my name is this. I'm going to sing a song for you today," and she's making insane amount of money. I heard it's something like upwards of 100,000 yuan per month. 100,000 yuan per month. By the way, the average wage in my city is roughly 6,000 yuan a month. And she doesn't have any education. She doesn't have any skills. All she does is that she sits in front of the camera and she looks pretty all day. And that is your pretty face privilege for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy holidays. I will see you guys on Christmas Day with a very, very special video.